Hi, I'm Margaret. I live in Geneva, Switzerland, and this video is going to be rather long because I'm going to talk about my life. So it's not going to be about teaching or, all my art stuff, but I decided it's my coming out with all my dark stories, or stories about life, really. So I'm going to give you a little timeline of my life. I had a quite good childhood, growing up in Switzerland. Did a lot of skateboard, played as kids. My family was okay. Then what happened when from the age 9 to 12, I was abused by Colin. He's a friend of our family. And there was multiple events when I was a child when I was molested. And until then I was 12, and then I kind of told my sister, and she told my parents, and then we kind of cut that cord with those friends. And then my parents thought, I was okay, so we went back to normal. And so I studied music. I got my degree in percussion performance. And then I moved out of my home when I was about 23, and then 25 I was doing loads of concerts, teaching music, and then slowly 25 I was kind of going downhill, and I hit like 27, I was not sleeping anymore, just total insomnia, and hit 28 and something was wrong. So I went to see a couple of doctors, and they said, well, you have a depression, a really serious one, you have to treat it. I talked to my family and wanted to know why I was like this, why I was having what was happening to me. And I have a half sister too, and she'd been through really depression in her life, and she knew friends that had been abused and lived through depression, and she told me, you have to work on your shit, that's what's making you ill. And then you're gonna have to get a therapist, work on your stuff. So that's what I did. I got loads and loads of help. I started off with psychiatrist, classical kind of therapy, which was good, which was great actually. I took a few different drugs, not much. I tried out a few antidepressants, didn't work. Took a bit of benzodiazepines for anxiety, but my main pharmaceutical drug was sleeping pills, and I still take them today. And sleep is one of my biggest difficulties. Depression, I think. I got loads of help. I painted. I painted 800 paintings, like in books, in big formats, small formats, everything. I journaled, kind of everything was like pouring out of me. I cried. PTSD symptoms, so all that. Maybe the best, the best thing I could do for myself is I just used to sit down on my bed. I still do when when emotions come in or some darkness comes in. I sit on my bed and I just feel. That's it. I let the feelings flow through me. And sometimes I journal a bit, but that's my main way of, I am not these emotions, and just these emotions flowing through me. So I cry, get angry, whatever comes through, and I just let go of them. So that's my main coping mechanism or healing tool. And then there's art too. I get on about later. So yeah, depression is awful. It's horrific. You go through so many awful emotions, from terror, anxiety to hatred, anger, grief. But maybe the main emotion in depression is shame. Shame is like a lid that it sticks on all the other emotions. So once you understand that this shame is quite important because shame links you to humanity. You take on the guilt and the shame from the person who abused me, Colin. But once you lift that off, so all these other emotions can just blur out. So my darkest time when I was 28, took maybe only 6 months off work from teaching. I went to the police and did a formal complaint, but in the Swiss law there's like a 10-year prescription, so it was like, I was like 28 and 12 was 16 years, so it was more of a, I knew that, but it was more like a therapeutic act to do. It was horrific. It was absolutely painful and absolutely horrific to do. Yeah, I wrote a letter. I took a lawyer and I actually wrote a letter to Colin. It was also most awful time in my life. To get out of my kind of victim state of mind, I pursued my studies. So I studied a lot. Also maybe to focus all my mind. I'm quite intelligent and got a lot happening in my mind. So studying permitted me to focus a bit more my mind and get out of this, be in the present and get out of this state of being victim. So I did a master's in music education, I did a specialization in early music, I did an art therapy diploma, and then finally I did like a music production diploma. So I've got loads of degrees, they're great. But for my reason was maybe not, to acquire so much knowledge. My reason was to change my energy. Yeah. So then I hit 40 and I knew something was going wrong in my body. I had stopped therapy a few years back because I got fed up with therapy after a while, that's it. So when I was 40, I knew something was going, was wrong. So I went back to therapist and hypnotherapist, and she looked at my stomach, abdomen region. She said, there's something weird about it. You should go and have it checked out. So I went to an ultrasound, and the doctor couldn't understand. She couldn't see anything in my stomach. She said, "This is totally weird. Go for MRI." MRI revealed a big fibroid in the front of my abdomen, and she said, "Well, I need surgery." So it was kind of clear to me that I was going to go and have this big surgery done. And that was, the MRI was like in January, so my surgery was booked in mid-March. The health system in Switzerland is very good. You pay a lot, it's expensive, so yeah. So I had this big surgery, spent a week in hospital. It was difficult, but it went good. So just the surgery, they just removed this immense fibroid. It was actually 2 kilos. It's really heavy, really big. Took up a lot of space in my body. Then, like 10 days after operation, 2 weeks after operation, the doctor phoned me up, "Come in, we have a checkup," and he told me, "Okay, you have cancer. We found leiomyosarcoma in that fibroid. You need to do the PET scan and go through all the tests." So then, cancer is like this diagnosis that hits you kind of quite strongly. So I went in for the PET scan, and PET scan is you inject radioactive sugar into the body, and the cancer cells absorb the sugar faster than other cells. So when you go through scanner, stuff lights up. So my liver lights up, and my uterus too, and some lymph nodes all around. But they didn't know if that was like, what was cancerous. It was like the liver was not linked or whatever. But I really knew that, yeah, I've been abused, molested, and then I went through my depression, and the cancer was a physical manifestation of all those emotions and all that. And I had to do this operation to get it removed, and it was very clear to me in my head. So then I went to see like 3 different cancer specialists, and they all told me you should have a hysterectomy and maybe some chemo or radiation. Well, they're not kind of quite clear about that. And they want to also do exploratory surgery on my liver to find out what was going on. And I just said, I do not, I've been abused, and I decided I want to keep my uterus. I don't want it removed. So I refused I refused a second surgery, and I refused conventional medicine treatments, and I knew then that I had to look for another way to give my body the space to heal, to give my body the opportunity to heal. So for me, doing a diet, that seemed kind of a logical way, because I felt that my body was like heavily intoxicated after many years of depression, and you don't not necessarily eat well in the depression, and and my energy was quite heavy. So I felt, okay, I chose, it's a choice I made, I went for the Gerson diet. So that was like beginning of April, mid-May, when I signed up. Before that, I kind of researched. I signed up to there's a Gerson Center for Education in San Diego. They have an online program that's cheap, that's great. I followed that. Then I went to Hungary in mid-May and went 2 weeks to their clinic. It was fabulous, really good experience. It kind of focused my mind and said, okay, put me on track to do this diet. This diet is the most horrific diet to do, really. It's mainly just vegetables. Look it up, please. Look up the Gerson diet. But I juiced and ate about 30 kilos of vegetables a week. So it took me about 3 to 4 hours a day just to do this diet. So I'm juicing like 2 kilos of carrots a day, 2 whole salads and leaves, and 5 apples. That's just the juicing. And then I ate more fresh and cooked vegetables. I was followed by a nutritionist, a specialist, very good. And yeah, I took little amounts of rice. So I did like 14 months, the first 14 months, about to 95%, maybe cheated on a few moments of bits of chocolate or occasional ice cream. But I cut off, I was really strict with it. It was hugely frustrating. It was really difficult to do. Then I followed the second year, because normally it's like a very long diet. So it's a 2-year diet. So then I did another year of maybe 4 juices a day and keeping to the lot of vegetables and bits of animal protein, because I don't digest them, beans and stuff. Anyway, coming back to my so the surgery, and then going to the clinic in May, and then I'd been in the diet for like nearly 4 months, and I had my next MRI was like end of July, beginning of August, and it still wasn't, they weren't sure about it. So I went in for a second PET scan, and there was nothing there. So I was hugely relieved with that. But then obviously I followed up. I kept on the diet, because we know cancer can come back. So it's been 5 years now that I'm 45, nearly 45. So, and I don't have cancer, because there's regular checkups you do with MRIs all through these 5 years. So I'm all free. I think once you pass from April, the first few months, there's this huge amounts of fear around death and illness because of this diagnosis. Once you pass that, you work through that, One of the tools I used, I wrote this before death wish list. It's a great exercise. Please do it. It was a short list for me. The first thing I wanted to buy a few things like high-end recording equipment. The second thing, I wanted to do this course with Chris Watson, which I've done. It's a recording course. And then I kind of wanted to heal my family relationships. So that's way more difficult to do. It's still ongoing. Then it was just like 6 and 7 was like be and love. And then I wrote number 8, I wrote music. And I said, well, what the fuck is music doing on my list? I do music every day. And when I did this exercise, I realized then, I'm going to live. It's obvious, I'm going to live because I've still got music to do in my life. So yeah, I followed my intuition. Really important. Follow your intuition. Best advice. Maybe another thing that really helped me heal, I brought out 2 solo albums of electronic music. They're very ambient, they're very soft, there's a lot of textures and details. They're extremely etherical, kind of quite beautiful. And I believe that through my creation, I changed my own, through the vibrations, through creations and through the vibrations I gave out, I changed my own vibrations and frequencies. I changed my own energy through this creation. It was like my own art therapy I did to myself. And these albums resolved a lot of the anxiety in me. They gave me huge amounts of relief in my life and peace, and I started really to open up. So why am I talking today? We're a week after Easter Sunday 2020, and we're in this weird kind of coronavirus thingy. I'm awakened. This confinement brought me back to myself. I've just opened up. I'm awakened now. I feel conscious. I feel present. I feel immense gratitude for this life. I've been telling you about this big span of life, 30 years of my life, the main events that have happened in my life. I believe we choose this life, we choose our life experiences, we choose them to grow spiritually. And I'm grateful for this life, to be here. I feel present in this moment right now. And I feel great with myself. So, thanks for listening. Be yourself, listen to yourself, listen to your intuition, love yourself. That took me years and years to learn, and probably takes people a long time to learn. Give love, expand your love outwards to people and tell them that you love them. Be grateful. It brings in more life into your life. Thanks for listening.